Stop tailoring your resume to every job you apply to. It is a huge waste of time.
Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Cook. We will be reacting to a new video today, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video.
I've worked in corporate fashion for the last 10 years, and as a hiring manager, these are things that I am looking for in a resume to get you to the interview. I made a separate video about 5 things that are not on your resume that I'm looking for, like 5 qualifications. This is just things that I need to see before I interview you. So first things first is how you build your sentences. Those bullet points that describe your experience, how you build those is very important. So every bullet point needs to start with a verb, and this verb needs to tell me exactly in what capacity you know about this topic. For example, it could be assisted, it could be ideated, it could be crafted and launched, it could be spearheaded, it could be just a verb that tells me, okay, she was part of a team, or I can say, oh wow, she spearheaded, like this was her project, she owned it. Or, I don't know, like I just need to know at what level is your expertise in that area. The second thing in the sentence needs to be like the project. For example, you can say, assisted in the development of a brand partnerships program. I'm like, okay, she assisted, she was part of a team, they developed a program. What for? Brand partnerships. Cool, gotcha. Or created and launched a social media strategy. I'm like, wonderful, she created it, she's creative, she launched it, they gave her this project, they trusted her with this project. What was it? A social media strategy. And then you need to tell me the result. What was the result? So created and launched or executed is another verb. A social media strategy that resulted in %, engagement, or increased engagement, or resulted in number of sales, or number of dollars in revenue, or in followers. So you need to tell me, like, how were you a part of this project? What was the project? What did you do? And what was the result? Second is I need to see at the top of your resume a small 3-line blurb of what you're looking for and who you are. So yes, I'm going to read all of the bullet points and I'm going to kind of determine that by myself, but I also need you to tell me, are you more data driven? Are you more results driven? Are you more creative driven? Like, for example, I am extremely creative. I am truly a big dreamer. Data, that's like, it's not my forte, and it's not like people in my team, they know that's not my strength, and that's okay. So are you a data-driven marketer with so many years in experience, or are you a recent graduate? I don't know, like who are you? Who are you? So I can like read it and be like, oh, okay, creative girl, or data-driven girl, or just graduated. 3 is format, and for the love of God, I know fashion is a creative field, but I've seen so many crazy things, like you guys love to do some weird stuff, like organize it in a weird way, like experience up top, and then like experience part 2 is like all the way down in the bottom corner. I'm like, what is this? This just gives so disorganized, and it's just not what I'm looking for. You need to make it easy for the hiring manager to like get it. Like, I don't have a lot of time to be like making puzzles of resumes. Please do not add a picture. I don't need to see you, and I'm gonna go to the social media part next, but like I don't need to see a photo of you on your resume. Like, don't waste space. Add your contact information. I don't need to see your address. People add their addresses. I'm like, I don't need to see that. But of course, like your name, at least like where you're based, like your state and your country, and your cell phone and your email and your LinkedIn profile. Social media. This may be controversial, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I do look up, I may need a little sip of wine for this one. Social media. This may be controversial, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I do look up, I may need a little sip of wine for this one. Look up everyone that I am interviewing on social media, and I've seen some crazy things. It's not about how you look, it's not about what you wear, none of that matters. Everybody do your thing, but if you are dropping a lot of F-bombs and S-bombs and like you're half naked in half your pictures, or if you are, I don't know, it's honestly like a morality thing. Like, if you are going to represent me and the company I work for, I need to make sure that you just block your social media if you don't want to see it, at least through the hiring process. It's about how you portray yourself, not how much what you look like. Just disclaimer. You can add some color, especially in fashion. Like, I don't mind when some people add some like hints of color. I don't need the entire thing being purple or pink. Don't make your resume 7 pages long. I can't do it. I don't have time to do that. Just make it a one pager, and then Make sure you add the most important things that will land you the interview, and during your interview, you can just mention other things you've done. Okay, if you are fresh out of school and you do not have a lot of experience, let me know and I can do a part 2 specifically for resumes for internships and resumes for what do I add if I have 0 experience.
You guys need to stop mass applying to jobs. When you mass apply, the quality of your applications goes down. Recruiters can tell that you're using ChatGPT to write things, to write cover letters. Everybody can tell. It's like when you see an AI photo and there's something off, like you can just see something in the eyes is off. It's the same with writing. So these are some things you need to do to make sure that your application is quality. And this means you're going to only be able to apply to maybe 10 applications a week or something like that. So one is, people talk about sending a follow-up email. Only send it if it's a smaller company. If it's a big company, that means they have a bunch of processes, and trying to like send an email to bump your application up just has a less chance of working. There's no hard rules. Anybody comes here tells you hard rules of like, you have to do this, and if you do this, you're going to fail. It's not true. Every company is different. But in my experience, the smaller the company, I might even message the CEO if I know that it's so small that the CEO like talks directly to HR. But when it's huge, the CEO talks to the VP of HR or whatever, never talks to any recruiter. So in some companies. So that's with follow-up emails. You might send it, you might not. In the interview, make a personal connection. Show enthusiasm. Tell them why you applied. Don't assume they know why you applied because I want a job and I want to buy groceries. That's clever and funny on TikTok, but it doesn't work in an interview. Prepare a good reason as to why you applied for that company, why you want to work in that industry, and why you want to do that job. The more compelling the reason, the more likely they're going to feel like a real, like, okay, this person actually wants to do this. This isn't just a random job for them. This is aligned with their career goal in the next 5 years. So that's a big one. After you interview, again, this is, if it's a smaller company, follow up with a thank you email. So if it's a huge company, again, they have some process. Like I remember interviewing for Amazon last summer, and it was a whole process. You don't even know the hiring manager's email. So it doesn't matter. You can email the recruiter, thank you, but the recruiter probably barely talks to the hiring manager in those massive companies. Hiring manager just tells them like green light or red light on this person. So it doesn't matter as much in the big companies. And prepare stories. This is the last one. Prepare stories for the interview. Have a story about when you used data to solve a problem. Have a story about when you went above and beyond for a customer or within the company. A story about like stakeholders. I'm going to put the 3 here. I'm trying to remember the 3 main stories you want to have that will cover 80% of the questions. A story about like a time you failed and how you improved things, and then a story about when you had to deal with like a difficult interpersonal relationship. Stories are what will communicate your experience to them. It doesn't matter if you have 10 years of experience if you're not communicating it. You can just say I have 10 years of experience and then their eyebrows raise and oh my God, wow. It has to be illustrated in a story so that they feel what you experienced. You condense 10 years into a 4 to 5 minute story, or however many minutes, under 5 minute story. That's how you get them to feel that you're qualified. So those are a few things you need to be doing. Let me know if you have any questions.
Just some advice for those out there in the job market from a recruiter. When you are applying for a job, please tailor your resume for that job that you're applying for. I understand it might sound tedious, but y'all got to understand, we live in a society where everything's about, algorithms and keywords and SEOs. That's the same thing for your resume. Go simply to the job that you're applying for. Look at some of those keywords and say, do I have some of those words inside of my resume? So then when your resume is put in front of recruiters like myself, you are put at the top of the list. Because without having those keywords, then you fall at the bottom. For instance, say you are applying for a trailer mechanic position, but your whole entire resume has cashier or stock or inventory, but it don't show you have any automotive background at all. But you do, but you haven't put it on here. So maybe you put automotive, but no, this position says trailer mechanic. So that's equivalent to a diesel mechanic. You have to think that way. Go into ChatGPT, put your resume in there, say, hey, tailor my resume for this type of job, put these keywords inside of it, and it would do it all for you. But you're not even doing yourself any justice by just applying to jobs and just feeling like, hey, I'm qualified for it, but I didn't want to take out 2 minutes out of my day just to tailor my resume, because I'm competing with thousands and thousands of other individuals out here in the job market as well. And y'all are competing for a job. Them keywords is needed in today's society. Unless you know somebody that work at the company and they're going to push you straight to the top, please just go on ChatGPT, upload your resume, put the keywords you needed to do inside of it. It's going to do everything for you, and upload that to your application. Just some advice. Hope everybody continue to have a blessed day. Let's get those resumes looking a little bit better, because some of y'all out here, y'all just swinging and missing. And it's just because of some keywords.
What if I don't know what exactly I'm applying for because I just need a job regardless of what it is? And you have a variety of experience. Do you need to tailor your resume for each job you apply for? The answer is absolutely yes, you do. I know you're like, I don't care. I'll work anywhere. I'll do anything. I just need that paper. I got to make some money. But the company you're applying for is thinking, I need someone who's qualified, who doesn't need much training, who's going to care about this job. You need to show to them that you are the most qualified person for the role. And so that does probably entail tailoring your resume a little bit, being a little more specific with your job search, and just honing in on roles that you are absolutely qualified for. Because if you're just randomly applying for jobs that you're not qualified for, number one, you're contributing to the problem. And number two, you're not going to get a call. You have to match at least 80% or more on the jobs that you're applying for, because right now employers have their pick of the litter. It is absolutely an employer's market. They are getting hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants for every single role. And the reason why is because people are just mass applying. So my advice for you is, yes, tailor your resume, focus on specific jobs that you are absolutely qualified for, and apply for those. Even if you have a broad range of experience, focus on the things that you like doing, that you are absolutely good at, and that will help you narrow down your job search. And I understand that it is somewhat of a numbers game right now, but I just encourage you to apply for roles that you are qualified for and focus your search a little bit more, and that will pay off for you a lot more than just spraying your resume everywhere. Good luck on your job search.
A quick reminder, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's continue the video.
All right, let's talk resumes. In my last video, I talked about how I would tailor my resume to align with whatever job I was applying for. And I think that this really starts to get people discouraged because they feel like they need to rewrite their resume for every job, which I don't think is the case at all. Honestly, for me, I would usually just edit like the most recent job that I had to kind of align better with whatever position I'm applying for. And I wouldn't even really edit it that much. Obviously, like any of the numbers are going to stay the same, but I would kind of try to pull out common themes within the description. You have to remember that a recruiter's job is trying to find someone that's going to be a good match for what the current team is lacking. You could be a really strong candidate and have so much experience even within the industry, but you already have a skill set that they have on their team and they don't need someone that has that existing skill set. Companies are actually really transparent in their job descriptions. They're going to say exactly what they want. So there might be a sales role, but one of the main things that they want is someone who's really analytical. So in your resume, instead of focusing on all of the relationships you built, while that's still important for sales, if the specific role that you're going for needs someone analytical, I would more so focus on QBRs and the way that you contributed to reporting and how your recommendations based on data were able to impact clients' campaigns. Does that make sense? As dumb as it sounds, some job descriptions actually can be really hard to decode. So this is when I would use like an AI system, ChatGPT, to insert the job description and say something like, pull out the key themes that this job is looking for. Then you could ask it to tailor your resume to more closely align with those themes, or just change a couple bullet points. I know that tailoring your resume takes a while, but you'll be way better off spending your time making your resume specific to the role that you're applying for than just using the same generic resume and getting rejected by thousands of cold applications.
Stop trying to match your resume up to job descriptions. Instead, you're going to want to do this. My name's Joel Algie. I'm the realist recruiter. I've been in the recruiting space for coming up to a decade. And I honestly think it's a waste of time when I hear people talking about tailoring their resume to the job description. When you actually think about a job description and you look at most descriptions out there, they don't actually talk a lot about the job. They talk a lot about the person. You need global experience, you need project management experience, blah, 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 blah. Instead, you want to think about what would make somebody successful in that role. Now, if you've been in the industry for a long time and you don't know what it takes for someone to be successful in a role, I'm actually questioning how qualified you are for the position. But if you're experienced and you know exactly what it takes to be successful in a role, then that's what you want to highlight on your resume. When you do this, you'll actually see that most of the things that the job descriptions ask for will be on your resume. So for example, if you're in sales, don't talk about how you need to be good at negotiation and closing and making cold calls and prospecting. Instead, talk about your biggest sale. Talk about the clients you worked with. Talk about the sales cycle. Talk about how much business you actually closed. And when we look at the bullet points, make sure your biggest achievements, the biggest impact you've made are at the top. Not only will this be more effective, but it's going to save you a ton of time instead of tailoring your resume for each job description.
I never post on here, and I don't know how many people are going to see this, but I am on the side of like employment TikTok, where everybody is freaking out about the job market. And let me tell you how bad it is. My company is hiring for a junior analyst position, and we received 900 resumes. That doesn't include people that have reached out to me personally, to people who have reached out to my counterparts, internal candidates that have reached out. So then we have to input specific keywords that we want to filter to that would make the most sense for this role. And when HR does their filtering, they'll send us a list of 25. So we're seeing 3% of all resumes. And then we're going to look through the resumes, and there's a few key things I want you guys to keep in mind when you're applying for these roles. If I see a resume and it's in Microsoft Word format and not exported as a PDF, I'm going to think you don't know how to do that, and therefore I wouldn't hire you. It just looks unprofessional in like an editable format. Keep in mind the naming format of your document that you're about to submit. It should say your first name _, last name _ resume or something like that, because what I'm seeing is resume all lowercase and parentheses the number 3. So I know that it doesn't have your name on it. It took you 3 attempts to save it, or you've got this saved 3 different times. It looks really bad. If I'm looking for somebody to work with data and files and an organization, I can immediately off the bat, I'm seeing that you're not an organized person if not even your resume is formatted properly. Especially in organizations that have a lot of data, or the job requires data analytics or something like that. If you can't get on board with just organizing your life, you're not going to be able to organize the company's data. Maybe it's a bias or my own personal opinion, but that's how it looks. That's your first impression. This is my first impression of you before I even talk to you. And all of that is before I even open your resume. Now, when I open it and I'm looking and there's 5 different fonts on your resume, immediately no. If you've got more than 5 sentences in your description per bullet point, I'm not reading it. I don't have time. I've got 25 resumes to go through, potentially more. 900 is the total pool. I can't sit there and read every detail. 3 sentences. That's all you need. And I want a metric in there. I want to know, like, what do you feel whatever you did contributed to the organization? I feel like a lot of these are kind of BS, but I mean, put some measurable insight or action that happened as a result of. The job market's tough. I haven't had to be in it for a little while. I'm just trying to tell you what I'm seeing when I'm going through to hire for a specific role. I hope this helps whoever gets to see this and you take something away from it. Good luck with your searches. Oh, and last thing I want to say is that I am not in HR. I don't hang out on that side of the company. I am specifically talking about me hiring for my general team. We already don't have time. We have our own projects and report outs to do and yada, yada, yada. So we have to be extremely scrutinizing when we go through these resumes in the way that I described as being super picky, because I don't have enough time. I got to get the best candidate that puts their best foot forward in this document as possible to schedule interviews for.
All right, so I had to do this video today. It is so important. When you are applying to jobs, you have to tailor your resume to a specific job title. So please, guys, do not waste your time tailoring your resume to every single job that you apply for. It is a huge waste of time, and you will burn yourself out real quick. Do it to a specific job title. Work smarter, not harder. And I hope that this specific video helps you guys a lot.
If you're applying for internships or full-time jobs and you keep getting rejected, I know the job market is shit, but there's probably a reason why you're getting rejected, and it's better to take a step back, look at what you're submitting, what the application materials are, how they look, give it to somebody else, get a fresh pair of eyes on it, than to continuously waste your time submitting it. And I am going to tell you what I did to kind of crack the code for myself and be like, this is what this is what's wrong. So for one, I genuinely was like, there's nothing wrong with what I'm submitting. My job application is good. Like, my resume is on point. I've seen multiple people. They've all agreed. I have a portfolio. My LinkedIn is good. Like, I have personal branding. But why do I keep getting rejected? Then I decided one day to really read the description of what a job wanted. And I read and I read and I read, and I was like, okay, yes, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, cool. Duh, I'm definitely getting hired. I was like, okay, now let me pull up my resume. I pull up my resume, all the qualifications, everything that they're asking for, I know I can do, and I'm like, I'm perfect for this role. I look at my resume, crickets. It doesn't even match what they're looking for. I just have the most random skills that I thought of, because I'm like, well, those are my skills, and they don't fully represent me, and they definitely don't fully represent what this role is looking for. So I was literally the one standing between the jobs I was applying for and the result I was getting, because I was not taking the time to tailor my resume. And today we're going to talk about how you're going to tailor your resume, because that is really truly something that can be taking a toll on your application and your results, and getting you that rejection or that ghosting, which is even more painful if you ask me. So you already know the computer is out, she's out. I got some real shit to say. So for one, I'm going to give you guys an example of a job and what they're looking for, and then I'm going to tell you how I would personally tailor my resume. So let's say that I'm applying for this role, and these are the key responsibilities for it. They're looking for financial modeling, credit analysis, marketing material preparation, understanding products and services, and they're looking for client interaction. Those are the key responsibilities that you need to have. The qualifications and skills required are interest in commercial real estate, because that's what the job is, communication skills, problem solving and critical thinking, attention to detail, collaboration, relevant coursework, and authorization to work in the US. I'm thinking about my skills, and I'm like, wow, I got this in that bag. I would kill this job. There's no way they wouldn't hire me. So obviously, now knowing what I know, I'm going to be like, the first thing I'm going to do is tailor my resume. I know it sounds exhausting to constantly take your resume, change it. That's not what we're going to do. There's a few things we're going to consider before we start changing our resume. The first thing that I do is I have an original resume all the time. I do my resume on Google Docs, and I just duplicate it, and I have an original, and it's called Original Resume 2024. I always update it every year, so that's this year. So then after that, when I duplicate it, I put it in the title. This job is JP Morgan, let's say. So I say JP Morgan summer 2025 internship. That's it, resume. That's all I'm writing on there, because I don't want to use this same thing over and over again. So what I'm going to do, JP Morgan is a financial institution. So when I am applying for a finance role, or a role that has to do with real estate or something like that, I'm going to change that resume. I'm not going to ever touch my original, and I'm not going to duplicate for another company. I'm going to use that resume, because a lot of the roles in real estate or finance or whatever you're applying for have the same qualifications and needs and skills. And so if you just do that, it'll save you a whole lot of time, rather than constantly making a new one and then redoing it over and over again. Now let's say I'm applying for a data analyst role with IBM. I'm going to call it Data Analyst 2025 internship resume, whatever. And every time I apply for a tech company that has to do with analytics or anything like that, that is a resume I'm going to use. So now, how do we actually put this information on our resume? There's two things that I would recommend changing personally, and everybody can do it differently. This is just what works for me. So first is coursework, relevant coursework. When you see something like knowledge in real estate, finance, accounting, economics, this is time to edit that education section and put coursework, and start typing out classes that have to do with what they're looking for. That's the first way, which is that coursework, that education sector overall. The second, and what I personally utilize, because I don't put coursework on my thing because I just don't have the space, to be honest, otherwise I would, but what I rely on mainly is the skills section. The skills section is truly what I constantly tailor. And like I said, if I'm applying for a specific industry like tech, I'm going to have software, and then I'm going to have general skills. And those general skills are going to be the qualifications that they're looking for, while that software part is like SQL, like Java, whatever the heck I need to utilize in order to be in that industry or what they're looking for again. And so how I would tailor that section is I would look at the qualifications and skills required. And under skills, I have financial modeling, I have credit analysis, I have marketing materials, and sometimes you can change up how you say it, but you really want to make sure that you have at least 3 down word for word, because a lot of the times, guess what? It's not a human looking at your literal resume originally. It literally goes through ATS, which is the application tracking software. It's a software system that looks through your resume first, and what they're looking for is these keywords. And if they don't see that, if you don't match that job, you're tossed to the left. You're not even making it to HR. Forget the job offer. So if you want to skip that trouble and you want to be able to, get screened and like make sure that you have those qualifications, you want to use keywords that they use in their job description, and then it'll make it to human eyes. And then guess what? They'll see that you truly are somebody who's qualified for the job, and ding ding, hopefully you get the offer. So that's personally how I tailor my resume, and I hope that was helpful. If you're having bad luck and you're just kind of confused on why you're getting rejected, the first thing that you want to do is put yourself in the perspective of an HR person, put yourself in the perspective of an ATS tracking software, and just take a look at your materials and be like, do I really truly reflect what they're looking for on paper? Because they don't know you. They don't know anything about you. This is all they know. So if the answer is no, or you're kind of unsure, go ahead and make those changes. And happy applying. I hope this was helpful, and good luck, guys. Bye.
Do you need a different resume for every job that you apply to? No, but you should have different resumes for different types of jobs. A lot of people will say that you should tailor your resume to each company that you're applying to, but that's honestly so much work, and it's usually not worth it. But if you're applying to different types of roles, then you will need a few different types of resumes. For example, if you have management experience, but you're open to both management and individual contributor roles, then you need to have a management resume and an individual contributor resume. Or if you have experience in customer success, marketing, and design, and you're open to a role in any of those fields, you're going to need a resume for customer success, a resume for marketing, and a resume for design. If a hiring manager is trying to fill a marketing role, they're going to prioritize the resumes that are marketing focused as opposed to the generalist resumes. So yeah, you don't need to tailor your resume to every single job that you're applying to, but you definitely should have different types of resumes if you're applying to different types of roles.
Tailoring your resume to a job does not mean pasting the job description in your resume. Like, can we just stop doing that? I know. I actually specifically don't call people who do so, because usually those candidates are fake. Here's what you're gonna do instead. Read the job description, think about your background, and within your work experience, speak to things you've done, projects you've worked on that are similar to what the company's also looking for. That's how you get more phone calls. If you just paste a job description, nobody's gonna call you.
If you're going to listen to any tip I give you, let it be this one. I feel that this is the most important one and what helps me to stand out from other applicants. So if you're not doing this, you must. This does not really apply to you if you're only applying into one specialty, but as a PA, you can do anything you want. So if you're like me and you've been applying into a few different specialties, you have to adjust your resume and curate it to be attractive to the specialist and the type of practice that you're applying to. For example, I've been applying into a lot of primary care, concierge medicine, enterprise medicine like practices, similar to what I was doing before. So that's kind of my straightforward resume without any changes. Did something bite me? Here are 3 ways that you can adjust your resume. The first and most important one is changing your professional summary. So I'm going to show you some examples here. There's a basic resume that this is for when I'm applying into primary care. Sometimes I change it a little if it's concierge medicine versus enterprise. And the professional summary is going to look a little bit different when I'm applying into dermatology, plastics, anything like that. And it'll look a little more like this. The second way I tailor my resume is through my proficiencies. We talked a lot about proficiencies in my first video, so go back to that if you want to hear. Adjusting the order of your proficiencies can also be super helpful. You want the recruiter to look directly at your resume, and the first few proficiencies should be what the job that you're applying for is. So for example, if you're applying into telemedicine, like on mine, I would move telemedicine to be first, or concierge medicine to be first. Or if I'm applying to OBGYN, I would put women's health as first. You get the point. Same thing goes with your procedures and skills. I don't change these that much, but when I'm applying into urgent care, I might want to move around some of those skills. The last way you can change your resume is through changing your references. If you have a good amount of references, I think it's appropriate to only list maybe 2, 3, but you might want to change those out based on what specialty you're applying into. So for example, I have 3 references that I know I could keep and apply to any specialty and just leave on my resume. But when I'm applying into plastics or dermatology or aesthetic medicine, I change one of them to be a little bit more relevant. It's one of my friends who's trained me in some aesthetic medicine, who owns a med spa in the city. So that's going to carry a lot more weight than a PA I worked with 5 years ago in primary care. I know those were good, so don't worry, there is more coming. Next video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about when to remove certain experiences, when to leave some on. I keep my Thailand internship from college on, and I'll talk a little bit more why I do that in my next video.
Y'all, I'm gonna have to start calling this the resume hour because these questions are just, they're filing in. So let's talk about resumes and how do you tailor it to fit looking for a remote work from home job when your only experience is bedside. So speaking from a nurse who was in a specialty bedside, who transitioned into telehealth, which was my first big break in working from home. I feel like an actress. Anyways, that's my little Hollywood moment there. Don't judge me too hard. But how do you tailor your resume? Because let's get back to why you're really here. This is what you're going to do. Our hard skills are something that we understand. We know how to put IVs in. We know how to do this. We know how to do that. But how do we transfer our soft skills so that they are transferable from our resume through the automatic tracking system that I talk about to a hiring manager? And this is what we need to do. You got to utilize and figure out keywords for your desired job. Here's this, and I want you to hear it, the highlighted portion here, your desired job. If your desired job is to, let's say, go into telehealth, then you need to look at the hard skills and soft skills that it takes for nurses or a healthcare worker because, not just nurses are hired into telehealth positions, just so you know. And you are going to make sure that those skills are highlighted on your resume. So what does that mean? Yes, it means that you're going to have a telehealth resume if you're interested in telehealth, and that you're going to make sure that it's tailored. And there are keywords that are on the job description that are also on your resume, because that is how you are going to get that magic little number up for the ATS, automatic tracking system, and computer to say this applicant is a fantastic applicant and you should interview them. Literally, that is the roadblock that everyone reaches into and falls prey to. And if your resume is not ATS formatted, then I don't know what to tell you, but that's probably, no, it's not probably, that is why you're getting ghosted. If you need help or assistance or a template for that, I've got resources. Don't stress it. Don't stress it. I'm here. I'm happy to help. So that's what you're going to do. Now, say, okay, Kristen, I don't want to do telehealth. I don't want to be on the phone. I want to do something else. All right, if you want to be an auditor, if you want to do something in research, you're going to have a resume that's tailored to research. And you're going to have a resume that is tailored to auditing. And you're going to do your research. And you're going to look at and see what are the keywords, what are the soft skills. And you're like, Kristen, I don't know what the heck a soft skill is. Don't worry, I've got you. Soft skills, you're good with Microsoft Word, right? You're good with communication. All right, if you're good with customer service or had an experience. So let's say, for instance, if you did auditing, or if you were some sort of quality assurance, or you did quality checks, or education, or something of that nature, even prior to your healthcare position, you're going to highlight that. And I know this is a controversial topic, and some gurus out here will tell you cover letters are old, but for my stay-at-home mommies, or my people that have had taken care of loved ones that are sick, or have had to take a step away from being a full-time healthcare worker or a nurse, this is where you're going to explain that in that cover letter, because you're going to say, listen, I know I've had a little bit of a lapse or a lot of bit of a lapse, but this is the reason why. I was focusing on my family, or I was focusing on this, or I was focusing on that. That will help explain any type of gap, because if they're going through your resume and they see, hey, this person didn't do something from here to here, they're going to want to know why. And sometimes they don't want to do an interview and they're just like, listen, there's a gap, there's a reason, we're not interested, we need someone who's consistent. But when your cover letter is attached, speaking personally, as someone who does hiring, I like to know why. And if work-life balance is important to you, and taking care of a loved one or your children is important to you, it's important to me, especially if I'm going to be hiring you and bringing you onto the team. Because you guys know how much I pump out this work-life balance because I believe in it. And I believe everybody deserves it. So I hope this helps. And if you guys need more, you know what to do.
I started typing out a response to this and just thought that a video would be easier. I have retail experience, so I separated my resume to be at the top, I wrote relevant experience and then put my retail experience. And then I also had a letter, like a quote of recommendation from my boss at my former retail job that I added to that kind of first page of my resume. And then the second page of the resume is, I made it like, I think I titled it like recent experience and then put like my corporate job experience underneath it.
if you don't have retail specifically, I would still separate it with like relevant experience and like recent experience, but maybe write jobs and certain skills that you think would be relevant to the role that you're applying to. The manager that hired me today said that she was looking for someone that was personable, that could talk to people, that that understood the brand and got behind the brand, and accessorized well. It's a jewelry store. So I would just tailor your experience to kind of what you think, and write that relevant experience into like what you think the hiring manager would be looking for. Hopefully that's helpful.
Do not hit submit on that resume. Not yet. My name's Lauren and I've been in HR over 11 years, and I'm going to tell you something you really need to hear right now. If you just uploaded your resume into AI, told it to write you a resume that matched that job description, and you're about to hit apply, don't. Whoever you're sending it to, if it's a good recruiter, if it's a good hiring manager, if it's a good someone who has experience reviewing resumes, we're going to be able to tell that somebody else, AI, wrote it for you, and it doesn't usually match the job. There is a misconception out there that resumes are supposed to be everything that you can do. Lies and deceit. I don't know who told you that. Resumes are supposed to be your work history that lets me know that you can do this job. Not any job, not tell me every skill you've had since 8th grade. Nay. I put out a job description. You're submitting a resume. The two should match, at least coordinate. You only really need to match about 60% of the job description or of the duties that I'm asking you to do. By the way, women tend to not submit unless it's 100% match, and men submit if it's 60%. So I need all my unemployed bestie ladies to submit it. If you are applying to something that says that you're gonna have to put together projects, reports, anything like that, and you can't even write your own resume, I'm not judging, but someone might. That's a lie, I am judging. We want to see what you can do. A resume is a really good way to show us that you can take a wide array of information and organize it into one document to relay a certain message or meet a certain goal. Stop using AI to do it for you when the job description says put projects together, data reconciliation, analysis of this, projects of that, detail oriented. And then you want to use AI to submit your resume, and then you don't know why you're not getting the job because you're not showing me that at the very basic level, you can perform those duties. Now, I'm not trying to be hateful. I know that some people have a really hard time like putting information together and reconciling it to get to do one thing. But if you have a really hard time with that, maybe don't apply to the job where that's the job description. If you're just like, this is my job experience, AI wrote it for me, you might as well stamp it with a stamp that says this was written by AI. We can tell. Take your time, put it together the right way, and then submit it. All right. You unemployed besties, be good today.
If you want an internship, please stop making like a new resume for each job and like tailoring it. I know people say that, but that's not I don't think that's the way to go. Instead, you should be like creating different resumes for like different fields, if that makes sense. So for example, I'm interested in software engineering jobs, program management jobs, and then maybe like technical marketing jobs, right? So I make 3 resumes in those 3 categories, but I'm not tailoring each resume to each job. I'm just tailoring one resume for each category, and then I look at a job posting, I see what category it falls into, and then I pick the resume from that category. That's a much more efficient way of doing things.
So you've heard from other people that you need to be tailoring your resume for every single job, but clearly you don't have time for that, and neither does anybody else. So here is a way simpler way to do it that is going to be just as effective. The first step is to think about what job titles you'll be applying for. Next step is to find 3 to 5 jobs that you are interested in applying to with each of your job titles. Make sure they've got a really good job description because these are part of the next step. Next, you need to read through each job description and pull out any of the key phrases that you see, focusing on specific and hard skills. Now go ahead and write down all these skills, and if you start to see some pop up 2 or 3 times, make sure you highlight that as something we need to focus on. Now into your resume template, you're going to make 1 resume for every job title. Start off up here with the job title you're applying to and the 3 most critical skills you found in your analysis. And be sure to also swap these out in the core competency section and your professional summary. As for your bullet points, you can typically leave these the same, but make sure you go through and bold different key phrases depending on what is most important to that job. And just to show y'all I'm not kidding, this is how many resumes I currently have for myself. Now, is this a lot more work up front? Yes. Is this going to get you better results in the long run? Yes. And because being one of the first applicants is so advantageous, it's great to have your resume set aside and ready to go for whenever you need it. If you thought this was helpful, don't forget to follow along, or I will erase this from your memory and you'll have to go back to the more time-consuming way.
How do you tailor your resume beyond adding keywords? This is a question I get all the time from clients. What does tailoring your resume mean? Let me break it down for you. The easiest way I can explain it is when you are looking at a job posting and it lists the job responsibilities or the job roles. You want your resume to reflect that you are qualified to perform those roles or perform those tasks. So if one of the job responsibilities is manage a team, make sure on your resume you list that you have managed teams, that you have experience doing that. You want your resume to be intentional and reflect the job posting itself. Because when a recruiter or hiring manager is going through the resumes, they want to see resumes that look like the job posting. Let me know if you have any more questions and follow for more job tips.
How to make your resume or job application stand out. So my experience is in finance, banking, investment management, fintech, tech. So what I say applies to these industries and maybe the other ones that are out there, but I am not an expert at them. But okay, so how to make your resume or job application stand out. If you're applying for a specific role, read the job spec on the company's website and take a lot of the wording and put it into your resume if it's applicable. These large companies have algorithms and auto searches to pull out resumes that are direct matches. A good chance if you're applying for a big company, there's not going to be a human looking at the first slew of resumes that are applied. So, put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter. Second, don't make your resume too long. Focus on actionable deliverables. Ensure someone spell checks it. At the top of every role I've ever had on my resume, I have like a short blurb that goes into like what I did, what I delivered on. Third, use LinkedIn to your benefit. Find somebody at the company, message them, set up coffee chats, try to do as much as you can to learn about the company. Recruiters are going to be impressed with the more knowledge you bring into the resume. Try to find people that might be on that team. You can use LinkedIn to search. Another thing, cover letters. Might make a separate video on this. I do not think these are necessary. I think they're only helpful if you really have the time to commit to craft a perfect cover letter. Otherwise, I don't even know if they're read.
I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.